These mammoth bone fragments challenge one of the longest held beliefs in archaeology, the timing of the peopling of North America. They were discovered in Canada's Yukon Territory. They're so ancient, the continents themselves have changed in the intervening years. Back then, the Yukon marked the eastern edges of a vast subcontinent called Beringia. Stretching from Canada to Russia, it was formed by the lowering sea levels that came with the last of the great ice ages. How could anyone have survived that far north in the middle of an ice age? To find out, I asked an expert in ancient climate studies where we could find an example of a Beringian environment today. He told me to come here. Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park in the dead of winter. If I can demonstrate that human life can be supported here with the tools and knowledge that early man possessed, then the Rosetta bone will have passed its first test. For this experiment, I get expert help from one of the world's foremost authorities on Aboriginal survival techniques, Cody Lundeen. That bag on his hip? It's a primitive toolkit made up of cutting blades and fire-starting gear. These Stone Age tools and the clothes on our backs are about all that stands between us and death in this wild, frozen place.
Cody, we've been trekking through some inhospitable environment. You're telling me that early Americans survived in this environment?
You can easily die in this terrain. That's pretty obvious. Winter's a time of death. They did survive in this type of terrain, but it took a lot of this and a few resources to do it. So fire's a thing we gotta have. Okay, we gotta have fire, we gotta have shelter, we have to have water. We need protein, blood, fat, meat. That's what we need to get by out here. We're in the Tetons. This is big bear country. So not only are we looking for things to eat, we're trying to not be eaten. There is no guarantee that we're gonna make it.
On the ground, 5 feet of snow. The temperature in the teens. With wind chill, your skin can literally freeze. In the open, we'll be lucky if we survive the day. Our first goal? Shelter.
Cody, what's good about this spot?
What's good about this spot is we have a natural tree layer. Okay, that's protection against the wind. We don't have to do anything, it's already there. Plenty of snow and ample open area that when we do get a fire, we're not going to take out the forest with us. Anytime you can use Mother Nature to your advantage to make shelter that's already created by her, do it, because that saves water and calories, and those are two big premiums that we're running short on.
Cody's plan is to transform the killing snow into a life-saving shelter. Snowshoes were standard equipment for primitive people in northern climes, and probably the first Americans. We put ours to work.
Let's take these snowshoes off and start moving some snow. And see, it's fairly difficult to dig. You can see how feel that.
That's solid.
It's pretty hard wall, so yeah. I'd say we're good to go. Let me get us started. We're gonna tunnel down because cold air sinks, and then we'll move our way in, and then we'll move our way up. So let me get us started so we have a format, and then we'll both be in there digging, moving snow out, etc. It'll be a while, but again, one more way to keep warm out here. How's it going?
We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
It's a lot of work, but it's worth it.
3 hours later, we've moved about 6 tons of snow and carved out a home.
So what do you think?
I tell you what, I never would have imagined that it could be like this. I mean, this is comfortable. We did this in a few hours. Is this temporary, permanent? How long can we stay here?
You know, if we were indigenous people doing this real time, we'd be here for probably a few weeks. So however long it would take to exploit the resources in this area as far as hunting and gathering and whatnot, and then we'd move on. And you see
in our quest to see if humans could have survived in the Yukon 24,000 years ago, we've passed a major milestone, shelter. But now we have a powerful thirst and are ready to move on in search of our second basic need, water. There is no shortage under our feet, but I learned in the Marines that eating snow lowers your core body temperature. You have to melt snow first. Better yet, find a river.
It is a river.
Far out.
And
All
it's
right.
not frozen.
Okay, let's go see what we got.
It's running.
That's great news.
Yes, it is. If we need water, so do other animals.
Right, exactly. So this is a highway for megafauna that we can eat and that can eat us too. Especially when you fall in the snow. So water is life itself. We have to remain hydrated because that helps us stay warm. You can see this big crag break here, so just hold on.
Yeah.
We'll fill this up as best we can with life-giving stuff. Oh, excellent. Okie doke. Pull me up. Awesome. Okay, let's go.
Of our basic needs, only food and fire remain. We've been burning calories at a furious rate. For our experiment and survival, finding food is make or break.
So Matt, check this out. We've been walking around most of the day. We haven't seen any tracks. So here we have a lot of activity. You can see an old...
At last, tracks of a mule deer separated from the herd. Archaeologists tell us that early Americans hunted and scavenged and ate animals that had died from wounds or exposure. In this killing climate, who'd turn up their noses at a free meal? Not us.
Okay.
Doesn't get much better than this. Mule deer.
Beautiful. Any idea how long it's been dead?
Well, you can look at the eyes. One, they're still in the body. The ravens haven't got to them yet, and they don't have a glaze over them. So it hasn't been dead but more than a few hours. Still got some nice limberness to it. It doesn't stink. Foot.
That thing in Cody's hand?
That's good.
A tool so old it predates
You
man.
can see how sharp that blade is. We've already opened it up just with this piece of basalt here.
Yeah. Cody, you're telling me we are going to butcher this deer with that piece of rock.
Yeah.
This is exactly the way early American would have done this.
Yep.
You swear this is going to smell better when we eat it, right?
I hope so, right? Cut
Wow.
it free, and voila. This is life itself for all indigenous peoples. You know?
And right here in your hands, we have food, we have meat, we have bone for tools,
Exactly.
we have fur for clothing.
Sinew.
We got sinew for
Cordage. So this is like a portable toolkit that you can eat. You just throw it over your shoulders and head over the hills, and here we go. One more day of life. Yet we're losing light.
As the sun races for the horizon, just one more task lies ahead in our quest to learn if early humans could have survived in this environment. Without fire, we won't survive the night. And most of the burnable wood is buried in snow.
This nice big cottonwood tree, and this bark we can use later on to make fire.
So basically, Cody, I look at this and I see a tree. You look at this and you see something completely different.
I see fire. To keep warm, to cook food, whatever we need. Indigenous peoples died without fire.
We had some tinder, but need real fuel real fast.
Awesome, dry wood. We'll see how this works. This is a marcasite crystal, and this takes a little bit of doing, so just bear with me.
Once again, Cody uses the oldest known tools for the task.
One of those.
Quartz rock to strike a spark, dry fungus to keep it alive. In no time, he turns a spark into a blaze.
I tell you what, Cody, as the sun was setting and we didn't have a fire, I was a little depressed.
Yeah, this is a huge psychological edge, not just a physical one. So survival's all over the world. You know, when you can master one of the four sacred elements, it's a big deal. So survival is 90% psychology anyway.
Shelter, water, food, and fire. Satisfying our basic needs has been a close race, but we've won it.
So, Matt, do you think indigenous people could have survived out here?
Well, from what I've learned from you, Cody, smart ones.
Only the smart ones.
For me, a big question is settled. 24,000 years ago, living in the Arctic wasn't easy, but it wasn't impossible either.